I can't buy the air I breathe. I can't buy the trees. I can't buy the deepest seas. But it don't matter, 'cause they're there for free.
Hello and welcome to Around the World in 88 Tales. I'm David Heathfield and I'm with you today from the Royal Albert Memorial Museum, RAM, in Exeter, England. And today I'm so happy to be exchanging stories with a storyteller I know well and admire, Dominika Rai. Hi Domi, how are you?
Hi David. How everybody? I'm really well, thank you. I'm really happy to be here.
And where are you?
I am in Bratislava right now.
Bratislava in Slovakia.
That's right.
Right,
Yes.
let's just find Slovakia on our globe. Oh, I've got the virtual background on. I better switch that off so everybody can see. Uh, that's
Where we
better.
are. Yes, and it's a very small country, so it's hard to pin down on the map. Yes, that's
Brilliant.
right.
Fantastic. So, Domi, would you tell us a little bit about yourself as a storyteller?
Yes, so sure. I primarily work as an English teacher. And a couple of years ago, I realized that I could teach English through stories. So that's how I got into storytelling. And I try to incorporate stories in most of my lessons because I think it's such a nice way of learning a new language. I mean, we tell stories, to each other all the time, even when we don't realize it. So I think it's a really natural way as well to learn, not only a story, but a language as well. And I'm a part of a storytelling group here in Slovakia as well. And we do some performances as well. So yeah, so
So you
that's what I
tell,
do.
you tell stories in your mother language and in English.
And in English. And actually, it's quite funny because at first it was really hard to do it in Slovak because I speak English most of the time. So then when I started telling stories in Slovak, I found it extremely difficult. So it was a little bit strange at first. But yes, I do it in both languages now. Yes.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much for being part of this. And the artifact from the museum that we're going to tell stories about that are going to inspire our stories today are these beautiful shoes. I'll just show you one of them closer up. This is a sandal from Rajasthan in northwestern India. And these sandals are traditional leather sandals, and they're made with gold hook work and ari work. And ari is a kind of embroidery where the material is stretched over a wooden frame and a needle like a pen is used to make this fine decoration. So these beautiful traditional leather shoes from Rajasthan.
Beautiful. So intricate.
Yeah, up here. So let me put them on display so we can enjoy the shoes while we're telling the stories.
Perfect.
Yeah. So I'm going to tell my story first. And people who are coming in on Facebook, please could you tell us where you are, and you can comment on the stories as well and join in with the stories if you like. So let us know where you are and who you are if you're joining us on the Facebook. Brilliant. Okay. So here we go. I learned this story from a student, and unfortunately, I don't remember his name. It was many years ago. I was teaching. I used to teach many students who were speakers of Arabic, students from well many countries: United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, from Iraq as well. And one of these students told me this story long time ago. And there are many stories in the Middle East about a character called Joha. Well, in Arabic, he's called Joha. In Turkish, he's called Nasruddin. In Western China, for example, the Uyghur people call him Appendi. So across Asia, there are many stories about this character who's a fool and a wise man and also a trickster. So here's one of my favourite stories. Joha and the shoes. One day, Joha went to the mosque to worship. He went into the mosque with everyone else, and then when he came out of the mosque, he started looking. Where are my shoes? There were many shoes outside the mosque where people had left their shoes before they went into worship. Where are my shoes? Said Joha, looking among the many pairs of shoes. I can't find my shoes. Where are my shoes? He was getting angry now. The other men who were coming out of the mosque looked at Joha anxiously. I can't find my shoes. Where are my shoes? He was getting angrier and angrier. What were they going to do? If I don't find my shoes, I'll do what my father did, cried Joha. The other men thought, we must do something about this. Some of them went to the nearby market and they bought the most beautiful pair of shoes. They brought them and put them in front of Joha. Joha looked at the shoes that they had brought, the new leather shoes. He took them carefully and put them on. They fitted perfectly. He began walking away from the mosque. The other men started following him. Joha, before you go, tell us, what did your father do? Joha didn't even look back. He called over his shoulder, my father? My father walked home with no shoes on. Well, this is a typical Joha or Nasruddin story. Very smart guy, Joha.
Yeah,
A beautiful pair of shoes.
I didn't expect that. I've never heard this story before. Oh, thank you.
Oh, thank you, Domi, for listening. Okay, well, please do feel free to comment on the Facebook what you're enjoying about the stories, and I'm going to hand straight over to you, Domi. And have you got a story that these beautiful shoes make you think of that you would like to share with us?
Well, yes, I do. And it's a story about a shoemaker, actually, which I think that's the first story that came to my mind, you know, when you showed me the shoes. So here we go. Once there lived a shoemaker with his wife in a small town near the mountains. He was a skilled craftsman, but because of bad luck, he wasn't doing so well. Work was scarce and food was scarce. And one evening he found himself sitting in his workshop with the last piece of leather. And his wife came to him and said, "Don't you worry, husband. You're a skilled man, and this is a fine piece of leather, soft like butter. You will make a wonderful pair of shoes out of it." He thought about it and said, "You're right, wife. I will cut it tonight and I'll get to work tomorrow morning." And he did. He cut the leather into shape and placed it on a big wooden table in the middle of his workshop. And then he went off to bed. In the morning, when he walked down the stairs to his workshop, to his surprise, the leather was gone And instead, there was this pair of brand new shoes, immaculate, every stitch perfect, beautiful embroidery. He didn't understand it, he couldn't. And he didn't even have time to think about it, because straight away, some dandy young gentleman walked in and exclaimed, "I am in dire need of a brand new pair of shoes." The shoemaker offered him the only pair he had. He was worried that there's no chance the shoes would fit. And they did. And the gentleman was so happy with the purchase that he actually paid twice the price for it. Well, now the shoemaker had money to buy leather for 2 pairs of shoes. So he did. And in the evening, he cut the leather into shape and again left it on the big wooden table. And he went off to bed. In the morning, he slowly walked down the stairs, worried about what might happen. But again, leather was gone with 2 pairs of shoes. He couldn't understand. And in no time, 2 ladies walked in asking for new shoes. Again, he was really worried. This time, there's no chance. 2 pairs of shoes, 2 ladies, the shoes won't fit. But they did. Now, if your maths is good, you know that now he has money to buy leather for 4 pairs of shoes. So he did. He went and bought the leather, cut it into shape in the evening, left it on the table, and on the 3rd day, there they were, 4 pairs of shoes. And the 4th and 5th and 6th day, it just went on and on and on, and there were shoes and shoes everywhere. The shoemaker wasn't poor anymore. In fact, he became so famous that there was a long queue outside his workshop because everybody wanted a pair of shoes from him. And it went on like that for months. And one evening, it was just before Christmas, his wife thought, why don't we find out who makes these shoes? Husband thought it a good idea, so they hid behind their coats by the coat hanger in the middle of the night, and they waited. They waited and waited. But then finally, at midnight, the window opened with a very quiet creak, and 2 little figures scurried into the room. They're poorly dressed in rags. They almost looked like little children, but no, they were little elves. They twirled around the table. Suddenly, they could hear a little noise. And then the needle started going up and down, and the thread was spinning in the air. And suddenly, in no time, the table was full of shoes. And then with a short puff, the elves were gone. The wife cried, "Oh my goodness me, poor little creatures, so poorly dressed, and they work so hard. We have to thank them. We have to make something for them." So she stayed up all night knitting little woolly hats and woolly socks and jumpers for the elves to thank them. The next evening, the shoemaker didn't lay out leather on the table like he normally does. He laid out all those beautiful clothes for the elves. And at midnight, indeed, the elves returned, but they were surprised. There was no leather, no work to be done. But when they realized there were presents for them, they were so happy. They got rid of their old rags straight away and put on these beautiful hats and jumpers and woolly socks. And they were so happy they started running and dancing and singing around the table. "We are elves so fine to see, no longer cobblers we will be." And they were gone. The shoemaker and the wife never saw them again. And now you might ask, does it mean that the shoemaker had to start making shoes again? Well, yes, but he was very skilled, so he didn't mind, and he was happy for all the help that he got from the elves. And with his wife, they lived happy and long lives.
Wow, Domi, that was absolutely wonderful. You took me straight back to my childhood. Because this
That's
is one of the
wonderful.
stories that I remember reading and being told when I was really, really young. And I just loved the magic of the story. And the elves didn't need to be shoemakers anymore because they had fine clothes to wear.
Yes,
What
yes.
a lovely reward. But yeah, they couldn't get the help they needed anymore around the shop. I wonder if the shoes that the elves made
Yes,
were
there
as
they are.
beautifully made as these Rajasthan slippers or sandals. I think they probably were.
Yes.
These feel like shoes from a story.
Absolutely. That's them. And it's you said it took you straight back to your childhood, and a lot of people tell me this because I think it's quite a famous story that a lot of children know. But I actually didn't learn about this story, or I actually read it when I was at university in England for the first time. So it was very delayed for me, but yes, I love it
And
nevertheless.
where does that story come from?
I believe it's a Grimm's. It's from a Grimm's brothers collection.
So
So
the Grimm stories, of course, are. I mean, we associate them with Germany, but really it's European or Northern European and
yes,
even Central European heritage. So stories like this probably would have been told in Slovakia as well, as well as in the UK and all around Europe.
I think so. I believe so, and I
And
think
of course, Grimm
probably
stories are part of all our heritages
yes,
now, wherever we are in the world.
precisely, exactly.
Wow, Dobby, thank you so much. There's some lovely comments coming in the in the chat.
Well, have a look.
Annie, my wife, is saying, "Wonderful story. Thank you. I'd like to have some elves to do my jobs."
Yes, yes, I think about that every time. Yes.
So, Domi, thank you so much. You can continue to comment in the chat, and this story will also be on the YouTube playlist soon. You can catch up with all of the stories from all around the world. But today we've been to Rajasthan in India. We've been to the Middle East with the story that I shared. And most importantly, we've been to Slovakia, to Bratislava with Domi and this European story. So thank you very much, Dominika Rai.
Thank you. Thank you, David.
Goodbye, Domi. Goodbye. Thank you.
Bye.
I can't buy the trees. I can't buy the deepest seas. But it don't matter, 'cause they're there for free.